I have to say, when I heard news of this flooding, I was actually quite shocked. And
Mm,
I started thinking back, I didn't really check the rainfall totals. We were
yeah.
looking at snow depths. We were looking at people skidding around on freezing rain. These were kind of the things that we were focused on. This country is used to getting a fair amount of rain. But if you remember back to Bert, again, we saw this snow come through, then almost 100 millimetres of rain for Wales, almost a month's worth in a day. And they too had dreadful flooding.
Now, one person has died as severe flooding and heavy rains hit the Midlands and the north of England. Nearly 200 flood warnings have been issued across England, and both Leicestershire and Lincolnshire have declared major incidents. We can speak to Jo Wheeler, who's a meteorologist at Square Raindrop, speaking to us from Lincolnshire. Morning to you, Jo.
Good morning.
What's it currently like where you are?
Not a lot going on at the moment, to be perfectly honest. It's mostly dry. But what really surprised me, I drove down into the town yesterday, noticed the river was very high, and then by last night it was virtually overtopping. So obviously we're getting a massive amount of runoff, which is going into the rivers and not getting out to the sea fast enough. Quite a lot of flooding, mostly in the south of the county. Now, Lincolnshire is one of those counties that a lot of people in the south don't really know where it is. There's a reason for that. We don't have any motorways in any direction other than east. It
Yeah.
would take me an hour and a half to reach a motorway from here, and an hour and a half as well to get to Leicester, which was the other area that was really badly affected. Now, the reason for this, we saw this system come in the other day, and very much has happened with Storm Bert. It was flagged up as a multi-hazard event. In other words, we were expecting snow on the leading edge, we were expecting significant amount of rain, and also with Bert, we were looking at some very strong winds. And I noticed then, because there were complaints about the warnings at the time, a lot of people, including us probably, focused on the snow and
Mm.
certainly guilty as charged as far as last weekend was concerned. This was a system we wanted to know how far north it was going to go, where the snow event was going to be, because obviously that would be fairly novel for us this winter. We haven't seen much in the way of snow. And whilst we said that there'd also be a lot of rain, that wasn't a major concern. In fact, if the weekend's events hadn't involved snow, probably it wouldn't really have been flagged up beyond a yellow warning.
Mm.
But instead, we had this frontal system which came across the country. It stalled, and that's why places like Sheffield, up towards Leeds, Bradford, they saw a fairly massive amount of snow, and we know that because of the airports that were taken out yesterday. But then the mild air came in behind, turned that to rain, and then that rain not only sat there for a while, but then moved away eastwards. So some parts of the country had seen almost 2 inches of rain before Saturday night.
Right.
Sunday, as the system started to move away, there was another inch of rain. And then, of course, we've seen the runoff from the snow as well.
So obviously, you're saying that we perhaps should have focused more on the rain, but could anything have been done in preparation so that it wasn't as bad?
I don't know. I have to say, when I heard news of this flooding, I was actually quite shocked. And
Mm,
I started thinking back, I didn't really check the rainfall totals. We were
yeah.
looking at snow depths. We were looking at people skidding around on freezing rain. These were kind of the things that we were focused on. This country is used to getting a fair amount of rain. But if you remember back to Bert, again, we saw this snow come through, then almost 100 millimetres of rain for Wales, almost a month's worth in a day. And they too had dreadful flooding.
Yes, absolutely. What is the forecast? I mean, you say it's dry where you are right now. Is any more rain coming?
Probably not for this part of the world at the moment. There is some query over a system moving up from the south tomorrow, and this is going to do exactly what the weekend's weather did. It's going to come in, it's likely to turn to snow. We're not actually expecting this one to come very far north. However, it could reach the London area, and this is all an if at the moment, because this system is still out in the Atlantic, trawling its way up from the southwest, likely to hit northern France quite badly, but could give some snow for southernmost counties for us, or it could push a little further north. So for us, for Leicestershire, Lincolnshire, excuse me, I don't think we're going to see any more rain for a while. But of course, we still haven't finished with the runoff. The level of the river in my village yesterday was so high,
Mm.
I could easily see it overtopping. And that would be the first time in almost 14 years that I've ever seen that.
When you say overtopping, what do you mean?
So the river has basically reached the top of its banks.
Right.
It's starting to seep out sideways. Now,
Gosh.
there's actually a relief channel for this town, village, whatever we call it locally, which turned out to be, and there was some flooding a few years back, and it turned out to be the relief channel and not the river itself. But this time the river is exceptionally high.
Jo, thank you so much for that. It's really interesting. That's Jo Wheeler. She is a meteorologist at Square Raindrop, and she's speaking to us from Lincolnshire.
Severe weather warnings remain in place across the UK, with hundreds of flood alerts in effect. A major incident has been declared in Lincolnshire and Leicestershire after heavy rain led to flooding in the Midlands. Murray Turner is Liberal Democrat councillor for the Toller ward at South Kesteven District Council in Lincolnshire. He's been helping rescue operations in the area. Murray, hello.
Hello there.
Thanks for being with us. What's the situation like there on the ground in Lincolnshire, if indeed you can see the ground?
The waters have receded in most parts of the villages this morning, but there are still some houses where the bottom layer is underwater.
Wow, it is. And has this part of Lincolnshire seen the like of this before?
Yeah, we had very similar flooding about 14 months ago, and subsequent to that, the Lincolnshire County Council said that they would carry out Section 19 reports to investigate what the cause of that flooding was and what they might do to remedy it. Now, despite chasing those Section 19 reports for most of the year, both myself and the local parish councils, they're yet to be forthcoming, and we were inevitably waiting for the flood to happen again as soon as we got some heavy rain, and unfortunately, that is what's happened.
Wow. And look, what's the human toll been like? Have many people been injured and hurt?
We've got no reports of severe injuries. There, certainly in the Toller ward, which encompasses Bellinborough, Horblin, and Fokenham. But there's certainly a lot of rescues going on of people from houses in large vehicles all throughout the day yesterday, and there's still some recovery going on today. And a few videos circulating online of furniture floating about on the bottom layer of people's properties. And indeed, 2 or 3 families in Bellinborough decided not to leave, and they're still in their houses with the bottom layer flooded as we speak.
Wow. Look, Murray, I'll let you go in just a moment, but what are the next steps for you? What do you have to do now?
I think that all the partners involved, the Environment Agency, Environmental Health Services at South Kesteven, Lincolnshire County Council, Anglian Water Board, we all need to get together and come up with some sort of plan that's going to remedy the potential risk to flooding, because there's nothing worse. You know, if you're living in a house and it floods, it's very hard to get insurance, and it's a lot of money to replace all your equipment all the time.
Yeah, well, wishing you all the best. Thank you very much indeed. That's Murray Turner. He's a local councillor in Lincolnshire, talking about the severe flooding there.